what criteria does the National Youth Development Agencies use in allocating funds? Is there political will to address the challenges currently facing the youth? What does the 2015 month mean to young unemployed South Africans? What are the key elements behind young successful entrepreneurs? Well, this is Question Time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Alicia Jali, sitting in for Mr. Mpotsedu. Recently, Youth Month was officially launched by government and the National Youth Development Agency at the Hector Peterson Memorial in Soweto. Now, in preparation for the commemoration of the annual June 16 events, this year's Youth Month will focus on the plight of the youth, including unemployment, skills shortage, as well as alcohol and substance abuse. Meanwhile, preparations are underway for the launch of the Presidential Youth Working Group by President Jacob Zuma. Mr. Zuma will engage with youth organizations to discuss the national youth policy and issues related to socio-economic development and empowerment of the youth. But what drives young successful entrepreneurs amid all these challenges? A reminder that you can call us and air your views on the following numbers. It's 089-110-4210 or 002789-110-4210. And our Twitter handle is @QuestionTime24. A very good evening to you. All right, my guests today are Mr. Bokang Siritsane, who is the Chief Maverick Officer at Activate Africa, as well as Mr. Kenny Morolong, who is the Deputy Chairperson of the National Youth Development Agency, the NYDA. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon and evening, and welcome to Question Time this evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Alicia. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's get straight into it. You heard the questions that I proposed before we started the show, but what criteria does the National Youth Development Agency use when allocating funds? Let's get straight to it.
Well, first and foremost, the National Youth Development Agency is a public entity established in terms of an Act of Parliament to mainstream youth development across all sectors of South African society. Now, the NYDA, through its business grant program, focuses on young entrepreneurs at the nascent and intentional level of business. The intention thereof is to help young people with a grant of between 1,000 Rand to 100,000 Rand to commence or expand their businesses. We also have a tripartite arrangement with IDC and CIFA. We must preface our view by expressing that we're not very excited about the progress registered thus far. We, however, will continue to serve as a conduit where we literally become the facilitator of this young person. We become a conduit who walks this young person and engages CIFA and IDC and make sure that this young person is assisted. So we must also state that over the past financial year, about 1,045 young people have been assisted through this grant. We also help young people with non-financial support. We focus on mentorship, we focus on market linkages, and we focus on a voucher program. So when young people, for instance, a young person gets into an NYDA office, they do not have a registered enterprise. What is expected of the NYDA is to help young people with the registration of that enterprise or a co-op. And this young person will then be assisted with a business plan. And this is done, all of them is done free of charge. Once that has been achieved, this young person will then have a mentor linked to him. This young person would still have to undergo what we call an entrepreneurship development program, where they are incubated about the characteristic of an entrepreneur and what is really required to be a successful entrepreneur.
Bokang, tell us a bit about Youth Month. I mean, we've seen all the celebrations that go into Youth Month, but are the youth really sitting behind improving themselves as a South African youth without relying heavily on government?
Alicia, that's a very good question, and thank you so much for posing it. Look, there's no doubting it. Young people in South Africa are faced with an incredible amount of lack of economic opportunity. Young people need jobs, young people need good quality education, and ultimately it's economic emancipation that I think a lot of young people require. So, I mean, look, to put it into perspective, I'm finding that a lot of young people are hungry for this economic opportunity. A lot of young people want to start businesses. A lot of young people want to find employment. But unfortunately, where the South African economy currently is not allowing them, A, to find employment, and B, you know, when we start looking at the development of entrepreneurship, there's definitely a lot of will from political powers, from business, from civil society. But I think there's got to be a more synergetic and coerced effort, you know, that needs to be employed in order to truly empower young people in South Africa.
You mentioned something there, of course, Kenny, that there are certain circumstances that hinder the youth from getting those opportunities. Tell us broadly about them.
Look, there are numerous opportunities. You know, you find in the space of aspiring young entrepreneurs, access to finance is a very big issue.
From school level?
Yeah, of course. From an educational point of view, I always say that South Africa is, or young people in South Africa have got to start embracing a culture of entrepreneurialism. And by entrepreneurialism, I'm not restricting that term particularly to the setting up of new ventures and running businesses. It's even entrepreneurialism in as far as your career is concerned, right? As a grade 10 student who's preparing for matric, what subjects should you be focusing on in order for you to pass matric, qualify into university, and when you choose a degree or a line of path in tertiary education, think about whether there will be an economic right for that particular qualification and skill that you possess to be in existence in the next 5, in the next 10, in the next 15, or 20 years, for example.
All right, Bokang, look, we've heard a lot about some of the projects that you've mentioned that the NYDA has embarked on. But tell us a bit about the success rate of some of these that have been implemented since the inception.
Well, I think we must also be proud to explain that we have showcased quite a number of our beneficiaries. We did that on the occasion of the Youth Month. We do so because we are particularly preoccupied with these success stories. We want to be an institution that is able to say this is what we did, and we're able to showcase the work that we've done. But we also have made tangible changes in the life of an ordinary South African. And we have done that in the past. We have showcased our beneficiaries who have really narrated the story of their success. They've said, we went to an NYDA office, at that point we were not entrepreneurs, we were aspirant entrepreneurs, and this is the kind of help that we would have acquired from the NYDA. And our numbers speaks for themselves about the kind of work we continue to do. You know, even in spite of the fact that, you know, we are not fully capitalized as an NYDA to do more. We hope that we can do more to touch the lives of young South Africans. I mean, South Africa has got a very serious challenge facing it. 13.5 million young South Africans are discouraged job seekers, not economically active and unemployed. So the only way we can turn the tide around, and I agree, is we need a concerted effort which is akin to what is contained in the Youth Employment Accord.
From who, though?
From the private sector, from the public sector, from labor, from different youth formations. And I'm saying we must congratulate government for the work it has done thus far. I mean, you earlier spoke about the Presidential Youth Working Group, you know, where it's a cabinet of deputy ministers who will be engaging young people about the National Youth Policy, which has been recently adopted, but also to talk about, you know, products and services which are offered by government, you know, to effect changes in the lives of young South Africans. So I'm saying there's more to be done, but we must also be aware of the fact that we are facing a phenomenon of a youth bulge, you know, where South Africans or South African youth constitute the dominant population cohort. I mean, about 41% of the South African population are young people, and therefore they bear the brand of inequality, they bear the brand of poverty, and they bear the brand of unemployment.
Look, Bokang, are the young people aware of these avenues that are available to them, and you know, which ways they can engage with the NYDA in order to try and, of course, go forward with their specific projects? Is there enough awareness when it comes to the NYDA and what it does for the young people?
Well, I think we must also state that we've undertaken quite a number of social dialogues. We call them social youth dialogues, where we are able to engage young people about our products and services, and we target specifically communities when the NYDA would never have been there previously. We also, through our own programs, do outreach programs where, for instance, a branch of the NYDA goes into a community, engages young people about products and services, And those who obviously want to apply for a grant do so there. First, they get first-hand information and they're able to explore the presence of the NYDA in that particular community. But we also have a footprint of about 14 branches throughout the country where young people can access the NYDA, be exposed to its products and services, get help either on career guidance, on job preparedness, on the business grant program, and on many other programs that are offered by the NYDA.
So, Bokang, if I can just get in there for a moment, usually people say that when you go to the NYDA seeking help and you're from the rural areas, you can't necessarily get access to the information that you need.
Well, most of the criticism on the NYDA is fallacious. There's some of it which is justified, and we can assure you, especially in the wake of our appointment as a board 2 years ago, that we've turned the tide. In fact, the NYDA is more accessible. We have gone to rural communities. We have a Solomon Mahlangu scholarship fund tailor-made for the rural youth. So our preoccupation in making sure that we reach out to the rural youth cannot be overemphasized. Our program are at the moment tailor-made specifically for the rural youth.
All right. Bokang, let's talk to you. Do you think there is a political will to address the challenges that are currently facing our youth?
Yeah, by all means. In fact, just this morning I met with the Minister of Small Business Development's office, and you can clearly see from the programs, the questions that they're asking for us as enterprise develop or youth enterprise development practitioners. There is most definitely a keen sense to empower young people, to develop young entrepreneurs. The Maverick Awards, in fact, which I believe we'll speak about a bit later on.
Yes, definitely.
I'm proud to announce have been endorsed by the Office of the Presidency, which is the highest office in the land. And from the discussions that we have, there clearly is a genuine need to see young people building enterprises and being empowered.
Are those your sentiments?
Extremely. I mean, I have already spoken about the Employment Accord. Well, it's one of these accords, a coordinated effort by all key role players, especially government at the forefront of it, labor, private sector, business, youth formations, to in accordance and consistent with the with our quest towards making sure that we create 5 million jobs by 2020. There's a coordinated effort. I have already spoken about a fund, an entrepreneurship youth entrepreneurship support fund set aside specifically to make sure that we aid young entrepreneurs. 2.7 billion set aside by both IDC and CIFA, state-owned finance agencies, to make sure that a young person who, for instance, goes into CIFA and who wants to expand their own businesses, a collateral is not required so that young person can be assisted. So these are part of the achievements and the continued stride our government continues to make. So if there's any question about political will to indeed deal and tackle with issues affecting young people, I can tell you that it has been demonstrated through the Employment Accord and many other initiatives. In fact, the NYDA is but one of those indicative barometers of the commitment of government to deal with and tackle challenges facing the youth of our country.
Do you ever fast track some of these developments?
We do. We are preoccupied about making sure that we reach out to as many young people as possible. We are also preoccupied about making sure that these young people benefit from the product and services of the NYDA. We are also even more preoccupied towards making sure that we partner with all strategic stakeholders whose keen interest is on the development of our
and
country's
also
youth.
To be held accountable. Thank you for that. We'll leave it there. A reminder that our viewers can call us and air your views on the following numbers. It's 089-1104-210 or 0027891104-210. Question time will be back shortly after this. Stay with us.
Information-hungry viewers stay with SABC News, as issues on the West are different from issues on the East or here in Johannesburg. So it is not surprising that people who follow the news know that there are two things for sure: that anything can happen, and SABC News will tell you when it does. Because we keep the nation fully informed. We are SABC News. These are the stories that wake us up and keep us going. To countries where terrorism still lives. Stories that bring us closer to the conflicts. and policies of the other side of the world, and the lighter side of the motherland's beauty, its people, their journeys, beliefs, and cultures. People who believe in doing it for themselves, who strive and believe in our country, and in challenging themselves because of a need to grow. This is SABC News.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. And of course, my guests today are Mr. Bokang Siritsane, who is the Chief Maverick Officer at Activate Africa, as well as Mr. Kenny Morolong, who is the Deputy Chairperson of the National Youth Development Agency, the NYDA. Remember, you can also call us to air your views on our topic today. We're talking Youth Month and how the youth have been developed, and of course, it's still to be developed by government and associated, of course, members. Now, gentlemen, let's continue with this. Which platforms can the youth use to raise their concerns? Let's start with you, Ken.
We must say that we have undertaken a number of social dialogues. The reason why we conduct social dialogues is that we want to afford young people opportunities to engage with NYD so that we are held accountable on the work we are doing. But it's also an opportunity for young people to ask us the most intricate of questions about our product and services. We do so because one of our values is transparency. And so we will continue to do that through the dialogues, but during this Youth Month, we will also do that through Youth Parliament.
Okay.
Where we will host youth formations, representatives of young people from the length and breadth of the country, so that we afford them an opportunity to also ask us questions about our product and services and constructively criticize the NYDA for its inability to reach out to more young people. Or for some of our shortfalls with respect to our mandate and our product and services.
Are you going all over the country?
We've crisscrossed the whole country. I can tell you that I will be going to the Northern Cape this weekend to engage with the youth of Kuruman about the product and services offered by the NYDA. I can tell you that a little while ago I was in the Free State to do the same. I was in Mpumalanga, I've been to KZ, and I've been to all provinces to engage young people. We want to reach out to more communities where we have not been, so that these young people can then also feel the presence of the NYDA, but also so that they can also access our product and services, because the more young people access our product and services, the more we are able to make sure that they take part in the mainstream economy.
So you're taking the NYDA to the youth, basically?
We are taking the NYDA to young
All
people.
right. Bokang, do you think that the youth collaborate in their fight against unemployment and poverty?
Say again, do I think?
Do you think that the youth actually collaborate in their fight against unemployment and poverty in this country?
Look, perhaps not. Yeah, look, I mean, there could be more that could be done. I speak from the standpoint of being a youth entrepreneurship development practitioner. And I certainly find that there could be more, as I say, there needs to be more synergy between the public sector, the private sector, civil society, but most importantly among young people themselves, right? We as young people, as Kenny has mentioned, the National Youth Development Agency is going to be traveling across the country, right? I'm keen to understand, are the right sort of young people going to these particular engagements? Are we having as many young people attending these engagements? I'm quite passionate about the National Development Plan, right? It's a 414-page document. And, you know, we had a session once where we asked random young people if they'd read the National Development Plan. Many of them seem to know it as a strategy of government, right?
Bokang, hold that thought. Let me take a caller quickly on the line. I hear Tsepo from Kuruman is on the line. Tsepo, a very good evening to you, sir. Thank you for holding on the line. Your comment, please.
Yeah, look, man, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Tsepo.
I just want to give an example that a lot of what the government does basically excludes a lot of poor people, especially in the rural areas. Why I say that is, for example, we as young people, we provide what we call employee wellness programs, okay? And we have lots of young people who are qualified as health professionals, doctors, physiotherapists, social workers, professional nurses, and so on. But what I'm trying to say is, on the 27th, which is last week of May, there was a tender briefing session in Joburg. Now, I try to get as many contracts as I can, I submit proposals. But now, does it mean every time I must travel from Kuruman to go to Joburg to attend briefing sessions? There's not even a guarantee that I'll get that contract. So it means it's either meant for people with a lot of money who can afford to go there, or the people who are based in Gauteng. It excludes everybody else. That's my question. They need to address that, please.
Thank you so much, Tepo. And we did mention this point earlier on, Kenny, about the fact that, people in the poor areas feel excluded by the NYDA. What is your comment to that?
We will continue to do everything within our mandate to thrust young people, especially from the rural areas, into a development trajectory. We will continue to expose them to our product and services. Unfortunately or fortunately, the caller is from Kuruman. This is where we will be. We hope that he will also be able to participate, share his views with the NYDA, and so that we can then provide more information. We also plan to bring IDC and CIFA so that the young people in that area can then be exposed to the work they are doing with respect to the Youth Entrepreneurship Fund, and so that we can also have beneficiaries of both IDC and CIFA and NYDA also from those areas.
Bokang, you were still making a point before we took that caller. Please go ahead.
Yeah. No, look, all I was purely saying is that young people have got to understand that their future ultimately lies in their hands.
Absolutely.
So we have this National Development Plan, and it clearly indicates where the country and how the country should look like by 2030. As a young person, never mind the fact that I'm an entrepreneur, when I read the National Development Plan, I picked up on so much economic opportunity. A, for future employment opportunities that will manifest. B, for entrepreneurship. So when the president talks about Operation Pagisa for unlocking ocean economies, I wonder whether as many young people truly understand what this means. Because to me, it means ocean building, it means, the exploration for shale gas. If I was in grade 10, I'd be thinking to myself, what qualification do I need to work in the shale gas industry? If I was a young aspiring entrepreneur, I'd be saying to myself, great, what opportunities for small businesses are going to manifest as this plan rolls out? So I think young people have got to be a little bit more militant, if I can put it that way. Perhaps a bit of a strong word, but they've got to definitely, be in the driving force. And yes, there could be more collaboration and synergy. And
more proactive as well. Let's take Mzwandile from the Eastern Cape on the line. Mzwandile, please go ahead with your question or comment, sir.
Thanks, good afternoon. Listen, firstly, we must always compliment these guys. I know that they're trying their best, but there's always areas where a strategy can be improved. Now, two inputs from me. The first one to the gentleman from the NYDA. Look, I hear him talking about 100,000 grant, and I do wonder if 100,000 is able to have a meaningful impact in the economy in terms of how these small businesses can participate. My question then becomes, would it not be better if you took, let's say, 10, 15, 20, 30 of them and grouped them to have a much more stronger economic impact or financial basis? That's the first one. The second question is, look, I can hear that he's defending his footprint, specifically around the Eastern Cape. It might have been better if he was able to illustrate. Let's take the province where I'm at. How many of his branches are existing in the Eastern Cape, and they have a geographic footprint around the Eastern Cape? Then he can understand why people are saying that they do not have sufficient access to their services. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Mzwandile in the Eastern Cape. Once again, Kenny, we bring back to the fore the issue of being out there and actually servicing the people that need you the most, the youth. Have you heard that? What are you going to do about that?
In fact, we are preoccupied with expanding our footprint. We must understand, however, that we have limitations. And as I had stated earlier, the NYDA is not fully capitalized to be able to quite optimally fulfill its mandate. I would have thought that I would have said that we have a geographic spread of all our branches as the NYDA. Our footprint includes the Eastern Cape. We've got an office in East London where young people can access us. But our engagement with young people is not limited to offices only. We have outreach programs where we undertake to engage young people who have never had a feel of the NYDA, who have never been exposed to our product and services. So we take note of some of the issues raised. They are quite significant going forward for us to redefine our role as the NYDA, also in the context of the National Youth Policy. And so we will continue to make sure that within the limited resources that we have at our disposal, we continue to reach out to more young people.
Thank you so much. Your closing statements, Pokang, before we go.
Young people, look around you, understand how the economics of the world operate, understand where opportunity exists. In fact, seek it out. Target opportunity. Whether you're thinking entrepreneurship, you're thinking a career, identify the opportunity, seize it. Yeah.
That's how we all grew up. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time here on Question Time. Well, that was Question Time for today. A very big thank you to my guests and for you at home for watching. Goodbye.